Good evening, everyone. You have to excuse my voice. It's kind of hoarse because of the weather. But we always start our meeting with the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Today is Tuesday, June 6, 2023. This is our City Council regular meeting. Sometimes we have special meetings depending upon the emergency or what's at hand. And I want to welcome you again. Some of you are new and some of you are not. So welcome, and those that are looking at home as well. So I ask everyone in the audience to please stand and join us with the invocation and also the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Led by our neighbor and friend, Mr. Zander. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Mary. Most gracious God, I thank you for this day. Let this meeting go smooth tonight. And we just wanted to pray for Mr. Creech. He has a little problems and got a car accident. Just pray for him, for his family. Let this go through and this time being, and let the council go through tonight so we could just get this business going and things like that. So in Jesus' name we pray, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance. Now we're led to go into our roll call. Good evening. Is that Ms. Holman down there? Hi. Our Assistant City Manager, Ms. Holman. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Cobb-Muniz.
Present.
Councilmember Curley.
Here.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Here.
Mayor Owens.
Here. Thank you. The approval of the agenda, Council.
So moved.
Support. Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb-Muniz.
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is the hearing of the public. The hearing of the public we have on our regular meeting, one in the beginning and one closer to the end. Everyone gets 3 minutes. The hearing of the public is now open. Good evening, ma'am.
Kara Morajan, Eastpointe resident. I hope I can stay within the 3 minutes. I'm here to speak on behalf of my friend and fellow watchdog, Harvey Creech. As you know, he was in a horrific motorcycle accident Sunday. He lost his leg. He's in ICU. He has sustained life-threatening injuries. I've been in regular contact with his daughter. It's beyond upsetting. It doesn't feel right. Harvey should be sitting here in the audience waiting to speak. Harvey should be here at this podium ready to raise hell like we always do at the council meetings, because as watchdogs, that's what we do. I'm asking all the city officials to reach out to his family, support them in every possible way. They are at his bedside. They're not leaving his bedside. There's not been very much improvement, and I find that very terrifying. All because some idiot 17-year-old was reckless and irresponsible. She hit him. How she didn't see him is ridiculous. He was on a motorcycle, and the motorcycle is a trike. You can't miss those types of motorcycles. He's fighting for his life. His family is asking for prayers, but they need so much more than prayer. They don't need to be worrying about food. So I'm asking the whole community to come together, drop off food at the police department. We will make arrangements to pick it up. The last thing they should have to worry about is grocery shopping or ordering food. They need to be there by his side. This is literally going to take a miracle for Harvey to be able to recover from these life-threatening injuries. The community definitely wants to offer support. And this is so touchy right now, we just don't know. There's
30
other
seconds.
things that obviously need to be provided to support this family, but right now it is just literally second by second. I'm asking this entire community to come together, support the family. City officials, I will provide his daughter's phone number to you off the record. I don't want this out for the entire general public, I'm sure you understand. But reach out to his family. We all have to come together for this family. They are in crisis right now. We need to support him. He is fighting for his life. Thank you.
Amen, Father.
Good evening, Council. Mary Hall Rayford. Yesterday, about 4 o'clock, I received a message from one of Harvey's neighbors to tell me that they were seeking prayer for the family. I know a lot of people read my pages and probably don't like some of what I say, but I am just amazed at the number of people who responded with praying hands for him. I know a lot of people don't like Harvey because of his hard stand on certain things, and we've bumped heads, but I don't think I've really met anyone who was always willing to fight for the rights of others. His only motive was for someone else. And I can respect him as a man for that. And I would hope that as a community, we can stand together with him with whatever they need. I can't speak to the need, and we decided that until we know what the need is, it's almost pointless to try to do too much until we know exactly what's needed. So I encourage everyone who's watching the meeting tonight or who's here to keep him in prayer, keep his wife in prayer, because I understand she's not doing too well either. All I can say is this man has passion and commitment to this city. And if we all had the same passion and commitment toward the city, we could indeed be that committed, unified family town. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tony DiGiuseppe. I live right next door here to City Hall, and I wasn't allowed to display the sign outside, so I want everybody to see it. I volunteer for Meals on Wheels, and we're in dire need of volunteers. We only want you to do 1 hour a week. For those, who can, you got to have your own car. And we deliver to the seniors. Some of them are immobile, and, you have to bring the meals into their house. Some are bedridden and stuff, and, it's really heartbreaking. So, but we need people really bad. We're only supposed to be doing 1 hour a week, and I've worked for the last 2 weeks every day because we need them so bad. I've been St. Clair Shores, Clinton, Roseville, everywhere, just because we're so short-handed. So I want everybody to know just 1 hour a week. It would help us a great deal.
Thank you. Is there any way you can leave some literature so that we can?
I got this. I wanted to put it outside your door, but they said I couldn't do it.
Can we put it inside so they can pick up the literature inside the building? Yeah. Okay.
Anything would help.
We'll print some out and we'll put some on the table for people to know about volunteering in Macomb County for the seniors.
You mean leave this part?
No, we should be able to find that online, because I think I signed up about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I had a conflict where I couldn't do it, but it is a good cause.
It is.
So thank you for the job that you're doing.
Yeah, I was so lucky in my life that I wanted to donate my time, volunteer for something. Now that I'm retired and, I wanted to give back somehow.
Is there any way that if a person doesn't have a vehicle where they can still help some type of
I
way?
mean, you have to have a vehicle.
You have to have a
go
vehicle, it's more
house to
requirement.
house, Yeah,
Okay,
you know, it's really easy. You get a sheet telling you where to go, make a right here, left here, whatever, and gives you the address and instructions. You know, if somebody, I have this 93-year-old woman, and she just comes to that door, and I even delivered on Christmas Day, and it was sort of heartbreaking that this 93-year-old woman had to have Meals on Wheels on Christmas Day.
thank
You
you.
know,
Thank you so much. we're gonna, leave that information, the city manager's gonna, I think the councilwoman was trying to get my attention. Was you
No,
trying to say
you,
something?
no, you covered it. We
Okay.
can't do the sign, but we can do the smaller flyers.
Like a flyer or something?
Yes.
I'll see when I go tomorrow, I'll see if they have something that maybe we could run off, you know, that we could place over there on the table that people could take.
Okay,
Or even they can go, like I said, here's the address and the phone number. If people.
we can find that on macomb.org. Yeah, we can print that out, that's not a problem. We'll put a couple copies out.
Okay.
Because a lot of those, and social media, because a lot of those seniors are helped here in Eastpointe too, in Macomb County. So, yeah, so absolutely. So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
I'm not affiliated with anybody outside Macomb County, although I'm sure they'd call me for that. But, you know, I've done all around the whole area, wherever I was needed.
Thank you so much, Wood. We got to keep on to the next person who has to speak. We got to make sure
Okay, 'cause
we
I
do
could
things a
talk-
certain way, but I thank you for even taking time out tonight and
I could talk forever.
Hi, Cindy
Thank you.
Federle. Of course, my prayers and thoughts go out to Harvey Creech, and we all have to remember in a split second our life can change. Now, I'd like to address comments made by Councilman Rob Baker at the last meeting regarding the Center for Autism. He stated that, and I'm quoting this, in reference to parliamentary procedures, the rules say that they cannot speak adversely about prior decisions or prior actions of the body. Reminded that they need to adhere to that and respect that even if they may disagree or have a difference of opinion, and he went on. When residents don't believe council has made a reasonable decision, then we will keep speaking of it until you understand and acknowledge the biased decision you made. The Center for Autism is not an established business, presented zero business plans, and is at this point just a dream. To give them a building for $1 with a commitment from them for only 3 years was irresponsible and a disservice to taxpayers. They have not submitted details of how they will afford to hire professionals, pay for renovations, or market their business. I do support the premise of this business, but think council should have requested more time to investigate the history of these types of businesses and given residents time to look into it. I'm sure there are many nonprofits in our city that would have jumped at the chance to purchase a building for $1. None of them were given that opportunity. Next, I'd like to speak about integrity. There are 2 council members running for mayor that chose to disrespect our veterans by passing out campaign literature after the Memorial Day parade. The parade was to honor those who gave their lives for us. To make this about your campaign was tacky and discourteous. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that you both managed to make this honorable event all about you. I'm very disappointed. Also, the budget includes the cost of an attorney for the Ethics Board. I'm wondering if you anticipate an event where this will be necessary, since it's never been needed, and I don't know why you would need to put that in the budget. And lastly, I fail to see why we need a Board of Appeals for code enforcement violations. Shoveling your snow is a safety issue for all that walk in the city. We have children and mailmen that have to use our sidewalks. It does not matter if you're out of town. You ask a neighbor, relative, or a friend to take care of it for you. You aren't able to fill commission seats now, and you intend to create another board. This is unnecessary. Let's return to being a friendly family town where we all help each other out. I know that's what my neighborhood is about, and that's what we should all strive for. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Timothy Canais. I am a resident here in Eastpointe. I am speaking today on the Pride resolution that was voted down by Councilman Barker and Councilman Muniz. While I can't say for sure whether or not your biases are explicit or implicit, the fact remains the same that there was an air of bigotry in this room. When the Pride resolution was voted down this year, But this wasn't the first year, because every year before this, Mayor Owens has voted it down and Councilman Barker has abstained. We live in very precarious times, and decisions like these hold a lot of weight, especially when anti-LGBTQ legislation and rhetoric are flooding this nation. It leaves us scared, anxious, and gasping for air, because our futures are uncertain. Violence and harassment towards the queer community keeps getting worse, and yes, even in this family town. We have teenagers who are trying to find their voices, and they're being silenced by school boards that are just as imperceptive and narrow-minded as you three are. People in the queer community are dying from suicides, from shootings, from cold-hearted policymakers, and you can't even stomach saying yes to a simple resolution that takes no more effort than that. A resolution that says that you're willing to celebrate with us our culture, our history, and the adversities that we have overcome. It's fine, though, because we're going to celebrate without you. Because on June 1st, I released an event on social media, a protest that will be held right outside of these windows on June 28th. June 28th is actually the Stonewall Riot anniversary, the actual moment that created Pride Month and created the civil rights movement for queer people. I would like to quote the mayor before I go, when she once voted down the resolution. If I don't stand for what I believe in, I'll fall for anything. And unfortunately, that context was terrible. But I think it's a perfect quote, because I stand for love, respect, unity, and resilience. Thank you very much, and I would like to actually say that I thank you so much, Councilman Harvey and Councilman DeMonico, for voting yes on this and being an ally to the community.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Veronica Kleinfeld, Eastpointe resident. I'm here to speak on the same thing. This is important to me. I left a meeting early in Lansing to rush here to be able to speak to you. I come to ask you respectfully to reconsider. It will be late in the month when you do it, but to reconsider the resolution. I want to point out a couple of things that the resolution actually says, as opposed to what people might think it says. The resolution says that the city denounces prejudice and unfair discrimination based on all sorts of things, not just one, but it's based on all sorts of things. It says that that Eastpointe, all are welcomed in the city to live, work, and play, and every family in Eastpointe deserves a place to call home where they are safe and happy and supported. It says the city appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the LGBTQ community. And the most important part is the now therefore be it resolved. That's the action part of the resolution. It says that members of the Eastpointe City Council declare the month of June 2023 as LGBTQ Pride Month in the city of Eastpointe and urge residents to recognize the contributions made by members of the LGBT community and to actively promote the principles of equality, liberty, and justice. And the reason I bring this up is there are no religious grounds to oppose it, because this resolution is not asking people to be gay. What it is it's saying to anybody in the LGBT community and any other community, we welcome you. We want you to be part of our family, and we want you to feel safe and happy here, and we denounce discrimination. I was recently talking to somebody who went through the history of minutes looking for a resolution of this nature with regard to a day, a week, or a month that is celebrated. And there have been a few no votes here and there, but there's never been one turned down, not one. So it may not be your intent.
30 seconds.
But the message that you're sending very loud and clear is not everyone's welcome. I recently saw some literature that says from one council member that want to unify the community. I'm paraphrasing. You cannot unify the community if you don't accept everybody that lives here. Anyway, I'm respectfully asking you to reconsider. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bryant. I'm a resident here in Eastpointe. Yeah, I got a violation here for little crumbles in the steps, which isn't that big of a deal, I guess, but I do want to know why I'm paying $2,900 a year in city taxes when they were $1,800 prior to that, and my street is complete garbage on Rosalind. There's trees growing in the power lines, so I'll just don't get what I'm paying for. I'm not seeing anything for my money, so that, I don't know, I'll get to it eventually, I guess, because if I'm not seeing results, I don't see the point. Plus, the water bill is ridiculous. I live alone, and it's $80 a month. My dad lives across the street, 10 Mile in Roseville, pays $110 for 3 months, so I pay twice what he pays, and there's 2 people living there, so I don't know. Just would like to see something done, I guess. You know, be nice to know. That's pretty much it. Thanks.
Can you email us your, your address, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else at this time? You get an additional 3 minutes closer to the end of the meeting if you think of something to say to help us with further things in the future, rather. The hearing of the public is now closed. Approval of the minutes, please.
Madam Mayor, I would move to receive and file the minutes of the regular meeting, May 16th, 2023.
Second.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes,
Councilmember Communis.
Yes.
thank you, council. Next is the scheduled hearings for the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. The hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget is now open. If anyone would have comments or concerns about the budget at hand. Seeing none, the scheduled hearings for the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 budget hearing is now closed. Next is unfinished business. We don't have any unfinished business. Next is reports from administration, starting with our city manager, Ms. Walton. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor. So first I'd like to introduce, we have our last addition to making our team back fully staffed since December 2021. We have Miss Juanita Walltower. She's actually here in the back. She is serving in the city of Eastpointe as our community engagement manager. She is helping us with AV, social media, doing a lot of things with events within the city and helping us to promote the things that City Council approves and the initiatives that are moving forward. So we welcome you, Juanita, and anyone in the community that's interested in reaching out, connecting with Juanita, and she actually will drive a lot of the efforts for community engagement that come up in the future. So please reach back out, respond to her Survey Monkeys on social media, the reels that she does. She does great work. So welcome. We're very excited to have you, Juanita. Second, we have our wonderful Lieutenant Madonia back at our council meeting. I'd also like to highlight and say congratulations for graduating the Staffing Command School, and thank you for your continued effort, as you have since you've been in Eastpointe, on continuing your dedication and commitment, one, to the service of police work, but also to the city of Eastpointe. So we appreciate you and your service here. Next up, we have... Thank you, Kim. City council petitions are available at the city clerk's office. We have Miss Robin Underwood in the back as well. Hi, Robin. So if you're interested in running for council, we also have advertisements in all of the local papers. If you want information, Robin is available, always with a smiling face at the clerk's counter. If you'd like more information on the process, she can certainly help you, as well as the wonderful ladies that we have in the clerk's office. Those petitions are due July 25th. We also have a tree planting initiative going on with our incredible economic development team in conjunction with DPW. I know Darren is over on the side as well. In partnership with Macomb County, we have received a significant amount of trees to be able to plant and increase our sustainability efforts in Eastpointe. So they're beginning some outreach efforts to members in the community that are willing to partner with us and help water the trees and help them grow. A lot of the businesses as well as the residents in Eastpointe. We are trying to start off in a lot of the areas that have had construction where we've had to remove trees that are in the way of the construction site. But again, we'll start that initiative, and if you're interested in wanting to add some trees to your area, your neighborhood, or you know of an area that really deserves or needs some tree canopy, please reach out to our economic development team, and they'll be sure to give you some additional information in our process on moving forward with that. We did have a Clean City initiative on May 20th. That was very successful. We had several residents that were here. We all joined forces to clean the city over again at 8 Mile and Gratiot. So I appreciate the efforts and Mayor Owens and being there and bringing snacks for everyone that were there as well. So thank you for that. We did complete a promotion. We have some transition that is happening at the police department. Our Deputy Chief, Matthew Hambright, has been selected to move forward into our Deputy Chief Merlot's position. So congratulations to Matthew Hambright. He has had incredible service to the city of Eastpointe as well, and you'll begin seeing him more frequently as well as a lot of the community events as well as the neighborhood watch events and a lot of engagement within the city of Eastpointe. Water main installation is continuing, actually nearing completion from 9 to 8 Mile. They have had to remove a lot of trees. I know there was an email with questions regarding that from some residents, from Councilmember DeMonico. Any of the trees that were in the way of the project line were removed, but are required to be replaced per MDOT. So those trees will go back. I know a lot of people have seen a significant change in Roseville as they were doing some construction up that way. Taking down those trees definitely looked much different if you went north up Gratiot. And so we do want to make sure that the community is aware that those trees will be placed back. They will be newer trees, but we will hopefully get back to the point in adding more tree canopy in Eastpointe. 9 Mile construction is also underway and moving along. We do have some traffic, of course, that many people have probably experienced on 9 Mile, some closures of lanes. So please be patient with us. It will be absolutely beautiful once the Main Street project and 9 Mile reconstruction is completing. We do have some upcoming events at the library that are very interesting, specifically this week. Tomorrow we have a trivia night, if you're interested, at 6:30. And then there's also a Becoming the Motor City with the author at the library on Thursday at 6 p.m. that I'd encourage everyone to go out to if you're interested in learning more about the history in Metro Detroit. And with that, Mayor, if there are any questions that council or you may have, I can certainly answer those.
I would think my question is where you get that dress from, so that dress is beautiful. Any questions, council? Seeing none. The next item is for my finance director, Mr. Blum. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. The one item I wanted to bring up today is the December 2022 actuary report became available today. The pension funding decreased from 53% to 50%, which is actually a little bit better than I thought it was going to be, based on the way the 22 stock market went. I was hoping to have it on the website by now, but there's a little glitch that Juanita's going to help with tomorrow. We'll get it out there. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Blum? Seeing none, going to our city attorney, Mr. Albright. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. It's that time of the year again to schedule the city attorney evaluation. So I'm just looking for some dates and times to have that done. I know that County Commissioner Lucido is in the audience. I know she used to prepare all the documentation for that, so this year it's going to have to be handed over to another member of the council. So either the next meeting in June or a meeting in July.
We can do the next meeting. What do you all think? Next meeting?
I think I would like to make a motion for us to do the review at the next meeting too. We also need to do the city manager's review the same day.
We can.
And I can prepare the documents if you'd like.
Yeah, that would help a lot, if you don't mind. Thank you, ma'am.
And Madam Mayor, council's also in receipt of our monthly status report. I did have 6 attachments to that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for our city attorney at this time? I believe Councilwoman put a motion for the date, right? I don't think you need a motion, but.
I think I did say it was a motion.
Yeah, I
And then
thought
it was
you
more
did.
like a question, so I'll make a formal motion. I'd like to make a motion that we complete reviews of the city manager and the city attorney, and those are usually done in closed session, correct? Yes, in closed session, if requested, and that I would prepare the documents for that.
Second that.
Okay, motion and support. Please call the roll. Thank you.
Councilmember Communis,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
I always do a update with our public safety, and I know you are the new deputy. Congratulations again. Put you on the spot. Oh, you're the lieutenant. Oh, I done put you, well, I done manifested a whole different, so that's next for you, or the chief. I don't know where you want to be. But yeah, please, good evening. Thank you for being here, Lieutenant. But can you give us an update for the community, please?
We do have Deputy Chief Stoppelsville. He was our detective lieutenant. We did select a new lieutenant to go down and run our detective bureau. I'm sorry. We have some promotions coming up on June 14th. Sergeant Spicker will be promoted to lieutenant. He's currently in charge of our special investigations division. So we have a lot of turnover. We're going to be short a couple of officers on the road. I think we have a list. We're trying to schedule some interviews for new hires. Other than that, the guys are out working hard. Reserve officers are out in the parks. I've got some emails from some of the community members appreciating that. And they'll be out for the Gratiot Cruise, and we have assisted Centerline with their festival over the weekend, and they are going to reciprocate and help us out for our Gratiot Cruise.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for your service again. Moving right along to new business. Item A, adoption of resolution number 23-1960 to submit a second application for the second round of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Sparks Grant Opportunity.
Madam Mayor, I would move to authorize the city administration to adopt resolution 23-1960 to submit a second application for the second round of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Spark Grants for improvements to Kennedy Park, including a walk path without equipment stations and an additional pavilion for a total of $896,000.
Support.
Any discussion, council?
I did wonder if we could have just an explanation of where items would be put. I saw the map, but I was trying to read it and didn't fully engage. So if you could kind of walk us through.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
So basically on the sketch, what we presented is, or what we're proposing for improvements to Kennedy Park under this grant is to install a walking path. Basically it'd be a loop around the perimeter of the park. We were looking at a 3/4 of a mile loop around the park. We tried to look at a mile to try to get an exact mile distance, but it's just not enough room to do that. There would be an 8-foot wide path that we would be proposing, asphalt path there. In addition to that, we would be looking at installing fitness equipment stations, primarily along the west side of the park where there's more space. If we were to get this grant at that time, when we get into the detailed design of the project, we would have a better idea of where we want to place those and get input from the city and yourselves as well. And then also we're looking at installing a pavilion that would be similar to the pavilion that's currently there on the south end of the park as well.
I know we can go up to $1 million. I see it's a nice little chunk that was left to get us to that million. It was nothing else you guys could have thought of to make it $1 million for our parks to spend that, the rest of that money.
We can always come up with something. I mean, I think the main intent was to do a walking path at the park, and as part of that, we added the fitness equipment and the pavilion into that to try to get towards that $1 million mark. But
Now, I had another question. I know in some parks, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but educate me. In certain parks, do they have Wi-Fi areas so people can use, free Wi-Fi?
Don't believe we do in our parks.
Could that be something that we can do so when people want to do their homework or study, they can go to the parks and get the Wi-Fi there? Is that
I mean, it's something we can look into, but yeah, currently, no, there's nothing there, but that's something we could look into.
okay, see if you can add to that, maybe we can get up to that $1 million, because I know a lot of people don't have access to that. And then sometimes when you go to the parks and work quiet, you want to study, do your work,
Sure.
so. All right, I think we had motion and support. We called the roll. If not, please.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Communis,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Item B, the bid award for Mott Avenue pavement reconstruction. Council.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award reconstruction of Mott Avenue from Kelly Road to Beaconsville Avenue to the low bidder, Mark Anthony Contracting Incorporated of 4844 Old Plank Road, Milford, Michigan, 48381, at the bid amount of $1,266,394.20, plus a 10% contingency of $126,639.42, for an estimated total construction cost of $1,393,033.62.
I'll second that.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
Sure, Mayor, I had a comment and a question. So first of all, I guess originally, and still, I wasn't in favor of using the ARPA funding for this project, but I'm going to vote yes here because I want to make sure we're doing it the right way, at least. And it sounds like this contractor is good from the letter from our civil engineers. And I guess just going into my question, could you talk about and I'm excited about this, the separation of the storm sewer and sanitary sewer? I saw that was mentioned. I know we've talked about that a lot, but so we're able to do that on this project, and
Yeah, so
tell us a little more.
fortunately, this project borders the area that is separated, the separated part of the city. So on Mott, east of Raven, it is currently separated. And there is storm there that we can tie into to extend that all the way to Kelly Road. So we're able to separate the section from Kelly Road to Raven as part of this project.
Okay, awesome. And for everyone in the audience, the less storm water that we send off to GLWA, ends up getting there, the less eventually we'll have to pay for sewage. And I'm sure you all see the bill for sewage on your water bills. So hopefully one day that can be lower, but that's, very long-term stuff for sure to be able to do that. I know our county commissioner is happy about separating also. I know we've talked about that up here before. So that was all, Mayor.
Thank you. You got motion and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Communis,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Owens.
Yes. Item C, bid award 2023 asphalt resurfacing program. Council.
Madam Mayor, I would move to award the 2023 asphalt resurfacing program to the low bidder Proline Asphalt Paving Corporation located at 11797 29 Mile Road, Washington Township, for the bid amount of $1,055,678 plus a 10% contingency fund of $105,567.80, totaling $1,161,245.80.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
There's one quick comment again, Mayor.
Okay. Yes.
Just want to say again, I think, and we've talked about this before, but just to mention again, I'd like to see us reconstructing the streets and not using asphalt. We should just be doing them all as concrete. But again, like with the last one, I'm going to vote yes on the bid award, because it looks like it's the best person to do the job at least. But yeah, again, like to see concrete in the future instead of asphalt. So that's all, Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I did have one question. How long do we anticipate that the asphalt replacement or resurfacing will last?
Typically, an asphalt resurfacing project will last about 15 to 20 years. Could be longer, it's dependent upon the there's not a lot of traffic on those streets, so it could last longer. But typically, 15 to 20 is the design life for an asphalt resurfacing.
And you anticipate that we may begin this program sometime in the summer or early fall?
I think it will start here later this summer. I did talk with the contractor a week or so ago, and they had mentioned that they want to get on this job pretty quickly once it's awarded. So we'll have an idea within the next week once we schedule a pre-construction meeting what their schedule's like, and I can forward that on.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Communis,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Owens,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes.
Item D, the bid award approval of Information Technology Managed Services. Council.
Madam Mayor, I would like to motion to approve the award of the Information Technology Managed Services contract to Electronic Tech Solutions for a 3-year term and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents and to further authorize the finance director to pay the monthly fee on the first of each month.
Support, please.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
Can we
No.
get a quick overview
Yes.
from the city manager or anybody?
Absolutely. So earlier this year, City Council voted to terminate the previous contract of the IT service provider due to their inability to fulfill the contract. We had a temporary service provider ever since, which is Electronic Tech Solutions that has come in, and they have provided the service consistent for us. They are actually one of the bidders. We have 6 different bidders that had bid on the IT service. And essentially, our IT service for the entire city of Eastpointe, every department is utilized off of the IT managed contract that we have. So if there are any needs, whether it comes to PD support for any of their IT needs, if it's assistance with elections and updating our laptops on election day, they provide assistance, and just the day-to-day operation and any questions, whether it's a password reset, general help desk, all of that IT service comes from this contract. We don't have an actual personnel on staff for IT, and it's been, we've had that operation for several years. And so this contract has a requirement of 2 people that are on site each day to provide consistent support depending on whatever the need is within the city that day. So sometimes you come in, and if we've had like a reset for BSNA or something's not working, our IT personnel and contractor is actually on call to assist us with that. And so this is a continuation of the same service that we've provided. It's the same bid that's been posted the past at least 2 times with the same requirements of having experience in local government. So you have Clemis is a system that we use over at the court and PD, as well as QVF for election systems, BSNA, which we use for every other department. So it's continuing the same service for IT within the departments that we have.
A quick question, Mayor?
Yes.
Could you explain the, because we've got the first 2 bidders here in rankings, and then some say unqualified. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. So when a proposal is put out, we have requirements within the bid posting that have specifics of what we're looking for to solve, I guess you could call it a problem or whatever the city is looking to resolve with the bid. And so in that, as I had just mentioned, we do have requirements of having experience in the systems that we operate in. The expectation for awarding this bid is that the day after service begins, that person would be able to step in and provide service on whatever is needed within the city on an IT basis. So there were I think 5 different organizations that either weren't based in the state of Michigan, will not provide on-site staff, or do not have experience in the systems from actually some of the departments that are most heavily utilized by IT services. And so those were not qualified based on our review and are not recommended to provide the service, as they cannot fulfill the need that we need to have 2 IT people here on staff to provide the service and do what we need for this IT contract.
Councilman, any more questions?
No, I think just reviewing this, I guess just basically, I think we should have at least considered some of these. I know this table, I mean, the table's got a ton of information in it, for sure. But yeah, I guess that's just my only comment, is that I wish we would have considered further some of the other companies in the list here.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Which ones did you think that we should have considered? Because, well, I guess I'll let you answer that first. Who did you think we should have?
Well, it's hard to tell exactly by this table because we don't have the full response except for the one company. But, there's a lot of details here about the on-site, I guess, at least considering that more, but we should just see about these companies and have considered them instead of just making them unqualified here and rank them, because the software expertise, I mean, can be learned for sure. I mean, not every company is going to know about this software, but they all kind of work the same from a IT perspective, and they're not going to be like the end users. Everyone here knows how to use it as a user, but how to set it up on a server, a lot of this stuff's in the cloud. I mean, Clemis was mentioned, that's in the cloud, so we don't have to actually maintain anything here. So I guess that's some of the reasons why I think at least we should have further considered some of these other companies.
The reason why I ask is, as I look at this, Madam Mayor, if I may.
Please.
As I look at this, this is the bidder electronic tech solutions. They're the only ones who made clear a couple things. They're the only ones who made clear what their on-site services would be, that they could do 5 days a week. Everyone else was either minimum, unclear, or only critical at an extra cost. They were the only ones who solidified that they could have 2 on-site staff, which is what we were requiring. They were the only ones who said that their response time would be immediate because they would be on-site. Others were 4 hours if we can't resolve it remotely, same day by email, or within 24 to 48 hours. So in terms of the immediacy of their response times, they were the only company that offered that in their bid. And then they were one of only 2 who said that they could do BSNA, Clemis, and liens, and had expertise in that, as well as QVF, which the other company didn't even have CJIS or QVF experience. So, at least from how detailed this is, with all the numbers, with all the information, to me, it was kind of clear cut. And then they came in more than $100,000, more like $140,000 under, if I'm reading that right, under the other bidder, the second ranked bidder. So I was just trying to get clarification on what more they could have possibly provided.
Council, done? Okay, we got motion and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Communis?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
No.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Item E, approval of Eastwood Oddfellows number 496, Cruising Gratiot Special Event. Council?
Mayor, I move that we approve the Eastwood Oddfellows Cruising Gratiot Special Event for June 16th and June 17th of 2023.
Support.
Motion and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Communis?
Yes.
Next item is item F, snow billing refunds. I know, well, before I go to that, I know we have one, Eastwood Oddfellows, but we try to let you all speak during the hearing of the public, so sometimes people don't know how that works. But if you did show up, not only to hear us approve it, but if you had anything special to say, I'll give you the opportunity. If not, keep it going.
I just actually came in to hear to see if it was approved, which I was hoping it would be. And I was actually
actually gonna still stick around because this is my first city council meeting, so.
Okay.
Yeah, they can finish the meeting without me. We have time as you guys, so, yep.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the work that our fellows is doing as well. Item F, snow billing refunds, council.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the finance director to issue refunds for snow invoices not properly noticed, which have already been paid.
A second.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor, just an explanation why the company that removes the snow would do it when the resident wasn't notified. I mean, how do they find out which house it was supposed to be?
So if I can clarify, Councilmember Curley, we had identified, I believe it was 1 or 2 meetings ago, we had gotten some complaints from people that had come in to the building counter and identified that they were not properly noticed. The vendor had began processing the snow removal similar to lawn, tall weed and grass cutting. With tall weed and grass cutting, the ordinance requires us to post in the paper, but not to post on the door. We did have a meeting with the vendor directly after the council meeting to make sure that that was clarified in the process, which they were a new vendor last year to begin cutting. I think we had talked about that with council. Initially, the company that we had contracted with didn't have staffing to continue the service. And so there was a communication error between the building department and the vendors. We've clarified that now, but we also brought it to city council as soon as we were aware that the notice was not posted properly so that we could ensure we were in compliance with the ordinance. The vendor is now aware and will process that accordingly and ensure that notice is properly posted.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Sure, Mayor. Was Councilman asking, though, how did, I guess at least I took your question as, how did the vendor know whose snow to do if the city didn't give them a list?
That was my question. Yes, that was my question.
So similar to the tall weed and grass, the process for that is that the vendor actually drives around or we provide addresses. We're not clear, and I think I had highlighted in an email earlier this week for clarification on that process because the building director that we had at the time is no longer here, so we don't have someone to ask exactly how that process happened. We just know that there was a communication error in how to process. They began processing and going around the community where they would also identify addresses. They take pictures for tall weed and grass of it being over this 6 feet. They take the pictures, take pictures of the address, the before cut, the after cut, and send those in. That's what happened with the snow as well. We had pictures of the snow before, the address, as well as the snow removal after. Those were all uploaded in BSNA. So we have the addresses that the snow was not removed. We just didn't properly notice because we didn't have the picture for verification of it being posted.
Okay.
I know that when we do the landscaping, no, when we do the snow billing, we leave something like a letter letting them know, a notice pretty much. But we don't do that with the grass cutting, correct?
So we usually don't leave anything. What comes is the invoice. On the snow removal, there's actually a large orange tag that's posted to the door. So it's a bright tag that gives you a 24-hour notice to say if the snow's not removed within 24 hours, the city vendor will come and remove the snow, and then it will be invoiced. So both processes are not necessarily consistent. We actually met with the vendor and our building department, and we're going to start placing actually ticket notices as well for lawn, just so that it's consistent for the building department, the vendor, and residents, because the swap between the two different seasons can sometimes be confusing, and so we will make sure that we provide that notice.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I can ask another question. Do you feel comfortable that particularly the new people who have moved in, and there's a lot of them that move in every year, know that they have to remove the snow after 24 hours after the snow stops? Does the administration feel comfortable that the 500 or 600 people that move in our city every year know that? And if not, we have any suggestion on how we can notify them?
It's a tough question to ask. I'm not
No,
aware if
wasn't a
they
tough-
necessarily
It
know.
wasn't a tough question to ask, it's a tough question
Well,
to
to
answer.
answer, you're correct. Thank you. But we can certainly do more due diligence. We usually send out, like in the springtime, we send out a letter. I think we say springtime has sprung or something like that with general reminders for the springtime. So if that's something council would like to see for reminders of the fall and winter, that mail out to all of the addresses in a snow bill, we certainly can do that.
You could also put it on a water bill, right, in red, right? I mean, everybody
Yes.
gets a water bill.
And we usually do like a springtime one that does a reminder of like things that harbor rodents, time to, when the trash pickup starts. So we could come up with a very catchy slogan for the winter and do the winter reminders, which could also include a reminder of the 24-hour requirement to remove snow. And we would add that posting into the water bill, and every property within Eastpointe would receive a copy of that.
Thank you.
We have motion and support. Good job. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Communis?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes?
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Item G, renewal of workers' compensation, third-party administration services. Council.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the renewal of the workers' compensation third-party administration services with the Michigan Municipal League at the net cost of $197,029 for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024.
Second?
Motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Communis?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes?
Mayor Owens?
Yes. Item H, DivDat, contract discussion and our decision for tonight. Council, would like to start the discussion?
Sure, Mayor, I guess I could start off real quick. I think to me, at least with the information provided by Mr. Blum and Ms. Walton earlier, it seems like we should just get rid of the optional kiosk at City Hall. I think unless I'm misreading this, sounds like if we don't have at least 350 transactions, they ask us to pay for it, and I think it would be it's at least $10 a transaction or something like that, I think, when I did the math earlier. So I think that's what we should do.
Were you done? Okay. Mr. Blum, I know you said you were going to talk to them about going back to the original contract because it was a miscommunication. What was the decision in that now?
Well, I was waiting for council to authorize me to go back and basically negotiate with them. Since council approved the contract, I'm not in a position to cancel it or renegotiate on my own.
Okay.
So if council directs me to do that, I will. If council directs me to cancel the contract, I will.
Okay.
So is your motion to cancel or to go back and renegotiate?
Well, I guess it's somewhere in between, because I guess reading some of the stuff from the person from DivDat, he made it sound like he thought both exhibits were basically the same thing, and the one says optional kiosk placement, right? So the first exhibit B, right, says optional, and that's not the one that we voted on at the council meeting. The one we voted on said DivDat will place an outdoor kiosk at no charge provided there are 350 monthly transactions after 90 days. There weren't 350 monthly transactions at 90 days. So I think with the wording, they should just come take their kiosk basically, and I think we're good to keep going with the contract. Or am I mistaken?
We could keep the online portion without the kiosk. However, we already have the point and pay option through BSNA, which actually covers more than just water and taxes. It covers building items. So there's no advantage in having just the online piece. The idea was the kiosk being available 24/7 for people, mainly cash payers, that could come up and make a cash payment at a kiosk that they can't do online. I personally couldn't justify the cost of just the online piece. The idea was we were trying to get the cash paying people to not come to the window, but to use the kiosk I'm actually better off hiring a third window cashier than having less transactions going on at the kiosk.
Okay. Yeah,
So it's either kiosk or a
It's
cashier.
either kiosk with more transactions or cancel it altogether.
oh, okay.
The 350 transactions per month, it says that from our perspective, the issue is moot since the 350 transactions per month was not met. And 350 transactions is probably an arbitrary figure that when you sat down with them, they said 350, and we said, okay. But can't we negotiate to get that down to a whatever? I mean,
Again, if you authorize me to negotiate it, I'll
I'm not,
negotiate anything.
I'm just trying to make sense out of it.
Yes, I mean, they're looking at it from how much they make per transaction.
They're looking at it to make money, come on.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure the 350 was kind of their minimum to make the money they want. But I can attempt to negotiate something different.
If we did switch back to, well, I guess first, can people pay on BSNA still then?
They still can, it's
instead
still
of-
active, mainly because of the building piece. They can do permitting and things like that, which cannot be done on the DivDat
Okay.
system.
So then the 1,500 online, well, let's see. Yeah, the 1,500 online plus the 30 mobile or whatever, we'd be able to just push them over to BSNA.
Correct.
Theoretically. Okay. Yeah, I have a feeling, I mean, I think I'm fine with what Councilman Curley and stuff was saying, go back and try to lower the number. I think we're gonna have to get to I think we just have to get rid of the number. One of the months was 46, just see if they just consider leaving it here. If not, then I guess I'm with you, Mr. Blum, on getting rid of it, because even looking at the highest month here, 113, and say a general month has 16 days where City Hall's open, 4 weeks by 4 days. So it's 7 transactions we're reducing per day.
Right.
At most, some of these months it'll be even less. Whatever 46 divided by 16 is, 3 or 4. So.
So then, based on what you said, what Mr. Curley said, I'd like to make a motion so we can move forward. And you can tell me if this encapsulates your motion. I'd like to make a motion.
Excuse me, Councilwoman.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you about, you said we saved more money. Do we save more money not having that DivDat and having the person? If they go back to the drawing board and say, you know what, we're not doing the original contract, you were saying we're better off having an actual person,
Correct.
right? So also in that, us not having, just say we don't have the machine or the person, can we still operate functionally and professionally without having both and saving money on both ends?
We have gotten behind on processing payments this year specifically after the Christmas holiday. It took us until the end of February to get caught up. And that would not have happened if I had a third person working the window. And that is really what hurt. Not enough transactions moved over to the kiosk, so the 2 that were left had to pick up a lot of extra work. So even if we keep the kiosk, I need to get more transactions going to it. And if that doesn't happen, then I would want to cancel it anyways.
Okay, because I'm thinking if they're about the money, they already had a figure in their mind, what makes them money, which is 356. So I already, but going back to the table, I'll be surprised with what they say.
Yeah.
So, Councilwoman?
So my motion is that we ask Mr. Blum to renegotiate, and if he is not successful, to then cancel the contract, and then we would authorize him, as a part of this motion, if he has to cancel the contract, to then hire another part-time cashier.
Works.
Well, I would like to see the figures on the cost for a part-time cashier. But I don't know if I want to, the reason I say that, I want to see what he comes back with, and then you can see the cost of what a part-time cashier looks like, or should we hire a full-time?
If they renegotiate, the contract's going to have to come back to council anyways. So
Okay.
at that point, we can take a look at contract versus person.
So saying that is her, well, just, with your, with your idea, what she said, is that good for moving forward?
Encompasses what I need.
Okay, support, I'll support that. Motion to support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Communis?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Item I is the Property Maintenance Board of Appeals discussion. I put this on here to bring this back, and I know a resident made a statement earlier, which she was correct about, that our commissions, we do have challenges with filling our commissions up. But at the same time, we are actually, on this same agenda, we are actually lowering the amount of commissioners so that we can fill them up properly to get things done. That's the next one. I guess we should have put that first, but it doesn't matter. And so just for instance, with the snow billing refunds, it was how many people came in with that issue?
I want to say I spoke to two specifically, and I think Ms. Holman spoke to two people as well.
So that's probably a total of 4 people. And then other issues as far as, I believe, Mr. DeMonico said something about an issue he got a ticket on, or something like that, just different things that people are getting ticketed for, wrongly ticketed for, possibly, just to have that commission to oversee it, to make sure that we're doing things properly, like we have the Planning Commission and ACDC and other commissions to help us with our decision-making. So that's why I put this on here, just as a discussion for to see what council thinks, and would this be a help to the residents, that they can have not just the council make a decision on certain things, but someone outside of council, of government, that is looking the checks and balances of what's going on in the community.
It's my understanding that we previously had an ordinance, but we've never had a seated appeals board. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
This ordinance was passed by the council back in 2011, and it requires that 5 members be appointed by the mayor with the then approval of the city council, and 3 of the members specifically have to have certain qualifications. One has to be a licensed contractor, the second member has to be a professional architect, and then the third member has to be a professional engineer. And so I believe that the city over the years has had difficulty in finding volunteers interested that meet those qualifications.
And then, do we have, Madam Mayor, if I may, do we have any metrics to determine whether there's really a significant need for this appeals board? I know we mentioned that we might have had 2 people here, 2 people there come in, but do we have any clear metrics that would give us an understanding of the fact that there's a significant need for this?
I got a lot of emails in the last couple years of people getting their cars ticketed. I don't know if that would fall under this as well. Cars ticketed, wrongfully ticketed, if it's on their property. Or just the lawn and snow and things like that. Even that, when people were out of town, people were saying they were getting ticketed, wrongly ticketed, and they didn't know who to come to and things like that. And so even prior to the snow billing refunds, the city manager and administration depended upon the contractor to do a certain job, and it was a miscommunication. Not saying they didn't do their job, but it was a miscommunication. Not just now, but I think it was in the past. And it was just a miscommunication on both ends. And so if everybody is miscommunicating, don't know what's going on at times, sometimes it's nice to have somebody in the middle that can look at certain things a certain way and say, this was the problem, this is what happened. Because sometimes city administration doesn't have, the time to do it, and the other person, everybody's overlooking. It's just a checks and balance type of thing. That's why I added this on here, just for, for the residents to have someone speaking on their behalf.
Madam Mayor, if I may, if I could ask the city manager, how are we currently, what's the current process that's in place to handle complaints of this sort?
Specifically like the tall green grass and like a snow complaint?
Right, things that will fall under property maintenance. Yeah.
Sure. So essentially, we keep a detailed record with pictures in BSNA. And so pictures are taken if a violation has occurred or a notice has taken place. If a violation notice has been posted, that letter is also uploaded into BSNA along with pictures from the code enforcement officer, their information, time and date stamped of when they were at the property. So if someone came in and had a complaint regarding, so for example, if someone said my grass was never cut, we would go into BSNA, identify through the audit trail what exactly occurred. We're not permitted by ordinance to ticket anyone if we have not followed the ordinance, which is why we brought the snow billing issue forward. We did not provide the notice as required by the ordinance, so we were not permitted to bill anyone. So we would have to come to council to address that as we did. Or if it's something that hasn't been billed, that's something that we can make sure and take care of on the administration side prior to it being billed if the process was not followed as required by ordinance.
So as so as it stands right now, essentially the residents appeal to the city manager's office or to administration.
If there is a specific concern related to the process being done correctly, yes. There's no process, we do not have permission to waive or an ability to waive a bill based on like any subjective matters. So if someone was out of town or if anything concerning outside of the specifics in the ordinance, we cannot take into account. If we have in the audit trail that it wasn't done, the notice was posted, the service was provided, we're required by ordinance to still bill that.
If I could jump in on this example, I guess a question I'd have, so say on this example of long grass, this ordinance says like an application for appeal shall be based on a claim that the true intent of the code or the rules legally adopted thereunder have been incorrectly interpreted. There's a couple after that, but let's take that one first. So like incorrectly interpreted, so say like everything was noticed correctly and the picture, you see the picture and it's like, a section of dandelions or something is more than 6 inches, but the rest of the grass is not. We give that ticket, like the ticket, say we did the right process, all on that, but this person's like, hey, I don't think the intent of this ordinance was a handful of weeds is considered 6 inches. How would we go about that right now without this board? What's their options, the resident?
Just to clarify, so you're saying if a section of someone's grass was in violation of the ordinance, but another section was not, would we have permission to waive that bill? Is that?
I guess theoretically, just so it's easy example right now, because I don't have the grass ordinance in front of me, let's say it says very specifically it's got to be 6 inches of grass. Let's just theoretically say that right now. Weeds don't count. Just a hypothetical example. Say the resident is like, okay, this is a bunch of weeds, the grass is not 6 inches, like what would if they disagreed that they even hit the 6 inches, like where would they go for this now? Do they have to go to court, or is there some point, in between to kind of discuss it with the city?
So those two billings are actually done through City Hall, not the court, and so they could actually appeal to City Council or contact members of council to review the documentation. But I guess the specifics of if it's just weeds or just grass, if the intent or the language in the ordinance says the 6 inches, and if there's documentation showing over, that is not something that I would waive.
So, in that example then, I guess, so basically right now, since we don't have this board filled, you'd say the only appeal would be to City Council right now then, I
Yeah, specific for snow, and not all property maintenance, because some property maintenance does go to the court, but the only billings that we do from the building department code enforcement is the snow and the tall weeds and grass. So if there was an appeal, those two appeals would have to come to city council to waive those.
Okay,
And I
Mayor?
guess that,
I'm
yes.
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay,
Okay.
Councilman Crowley.
Yeah, this is obviously tonight discussion only. This document that was written in 2011, you said, is 4 pages long, very intense. And when we have the architect, contractor, and engineer on that committee, as I understand it, back in 2011, they had an incredibly difficult time finding people to fill those 3 positions. And I think Rich has a different thing, but let me read the last page. If a person goes to this board and the board says, well, no, you're wrong, petitioner, on this last page it says, an appeal shall be made in the manner and time required by law following the filing of the board's decision in the office of the city manager. I don't know what that means, and maybe nobody else does.
That actually is referring to the Construction Board of Appeals.
Yes.
Which is a different, there's the Property Maintenance Board of Appeals, and then there's also the Construction Board of Appeals. So the Construction Board of Appeals deals with the state construction code. For instance, if the building official tells a property owner or their contractor that they need a building permit for X, Y, and Z, and that contractor or the property owner says, I don't think I need a building permit, I think you're interpreting the state construction code incorrectly, they would have the right to appeal to that board. Then there's also the Property Maintenance Board of Appeals, which deals with the International Property Maintenance Code.
So give me a couple examples of what the Property Maintenance Board of Appeals would deal with that would require 3 professional people to make their professional opinion after our employee made a professional opinion.
Okay.
So what are some of the examples of what they would be hearing?
Well, it's dependent on the type of notice of violation that the building official would issue. So it starts with the building official. So if he or she goes out and sees a violation of the International Property Maintenance Code, for instance, there's debris in the backyard or in the side yard, and then they send out a notice of violation and say, property owner, your property is in violation of section such and such of the International Property Maintenance Code, you hereby have 10 days or however many days to correct that. If the property owner sees that and says, I don't agree with that, they would have the option to appeal that notice of violation to the Property Maintenance Board of Appeals.
Okay.
Now, they would need to do that within, I believe, 20 days of receiving that notice of violation.
Right.
If they did not do that, and assuming that the violation continued, then the building official then has the ability to issue an actual court citation, which would then be adjudicated over at the 38th District Court. And now it becomes either a civil infraction if it's a first violation, or if there's been multiple violations for the same thing within a year, then it can be issued as a misdemeanor. And that would be handled over at the 38th District Court. And if the person, the property owner, was either found responsible or was determined to be guilty of that, then they would have the right to appeal that finding up to the Macomb County Circuit Court.
Okay. All right. I would assume if the majority of the council thinks this has some merit, then we would probably send it back to you to clarify it and make it a little bit simpler, other than having 4 pages of this. My last remark on this is, in my opinion, is that I would think that rather than the council or the mayor selecting the 5 people, I would rather see it go to the city manager, so that they, well, right now it's she, wouldn't make those selections. That would be my opinion. I'm done.
Okay. Councilman Baker.
I'm sorry,
Mayor
Richard.
Pro.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, the appeals, they could file an action in the Macomb County Circuit Court if they were disagreeing with, this ordinance on several grounds, but the appeal from the 38th District Court actually would go over to the 40th District Court and be heard by one of the judges out there. If it was an appeal, that's where the appeals go from 38th District Court, they go over to the 40th District Court.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
All right, I just had a quick question, because I'm thinking about the professionals that have to be part of this board, but with this property maintenance code, does this cover grass and snow, or is it just literally like you gave the example of if you have debris in your yard, or if your gutters are falling off or something like that, like does it encompass both yard and snow, or is it just purely construction or major things around your property like the structural?
It could cover anything, any violation of the International Property Maintenance Code, which could include all the things that you just stated. So it's really determined by how the building official issues the notice of violation. Now, if it's for something involving construction, for instance, a building permit, a certificate of occupancy, that would be handled by the Construction Board of Appeals. So depending on how the building official is proceeding, are they looking for enforcement purposes under the construction code, or are they looking to enforce this conduct under the Property Maintenance Board or the International Property Maintenance Code? So two different boards, two different sections. It all depends on what the violation consists of.
I think Councilman Curley made a good point of having depending upon what council feels, having the city attorney make it more, simple, because it's a little complex. It was done, 12 years ago, but whoever put it together 12 years ago thought it was something important for us as a city to do for the residents. So I agree with that, even though it wasn't put together, now is the time, so.
Actually, I think it was our office in conjunction with the building official at the time. And that's the way, it's parroted off of the actual language from the MCL for the State Construction Code and also the International Property Maintenance Code, because both state statute provides for this particular board and the International Property Maintenance Code provides for this type of board. But we can certainly look at that and slim it down.
Okay.
Just one last thing, if I can, Madam Mayor. You explained it perfectly about where they could go to appeal. Let me read this last paragraph, because there's no really detail of what you said, and I think if we're going to rewrite some of this ought to be clarified. Any person, whether or not a previous party of the appeal, shall have the right to appeal the board's decision. Got that so far? All right? As is authorized, and maybe this is what you're talking about, Public Act number 230 of the 1972 MCL 125-1501. Now, if that's what you're talking about, that they just don't come to the city manager's office, they can appeal it to a court, then that ought to be rewritten so a guy like me can understand it.
What that actually means, and I'll put it in about as plain terms as possible. The MCL 125-1501 at SEC actually refers to the part of the state construction code that within that very voluminous section provides for this construction board of appeals. Now, what they mean by that language means that if this person wants to appeal the decision of the construction board of appeals, then they have to file their appeal with the city manager's office, and then from there, that appeal will either go to the circuit court or to the state construction commission. So there's two different avenues that they can go, but it doesn't say that in that particular language.
No.
But it can.
And you would probably take time to rewrite it so I'll just speak for myself so I can understand it.
I'd be happy to.
I know you would. Yeah,
What do you think?
If the motion is to give it to the city manager to rewrite it, that doesn't mean we're accepting it. All we're doing is asking him to rewrite it and clarify language so we can all understand it. But I don't want to make the motion.
I think it would be helpful if we had, Madam Mayor, if I may, I think it would be helpful if we had a better understanding, maybe from the building department and, as well as from the attorney as to the number of the population that would take advantage of using a board like this. Especially because of your prior comments about the issues with trying to fill the boards we currently have before we reinstitute another one. I think it would be helpful, while he's looking at the language, to also look at, I just go back to that initial comment of metrics, to make sure that it will be utilized, especially if you're talking about pooling together professionals of this nature.
You're right, but I know just what previously you put a youth commission together and a senior commission together, correct?
Yes. And we had no service for our teens. We had no outlet for them. So the need for that, I believe, was very great because we did not have anything. There had not been anything in existence. Here, we've heard expressed that there is an avenue for recourse through the court system. And there's also an avenue currently in place for recourse through the city administration office. So I'm not saying that we can't put this board together. I'm just saying, I think because there are avenues to appeal it that are in existence, if we're going to create a board that would specifically deal with it, it would be nice to know that we have the numbers to support that. Because unlike with the Teen Advisory Commission, there was no commission for them. There was no commission they could participate on.
No, we didn't have a commission, but the high school would come to council meetings and they would speak, and they did have something at the high school for the children there that they would come. What was that called, Councilman DeMonico, when the youth would come in the audience?
Were you talking about shadowing us, or?
Yeah, they used to
that,
have a
or-
shadowing here, and they used to also have the high schoolers, since I was on council, would sit in the audience, and they would have to be here the whole council meeting.
Oh, did like extra credit, I think?
Yeah, or something like that.
We
yeah.
signed their,
When I was the
agendas
mayor,
and
they
stuff.
did that, and
Yeah.
they had to get the agenda signed by
Yep.
the mayor or one of the council people, and the mayor had to make sure that they didn't walk out halfway through the program.
Right.
And that's a
So I signed
one-off,
con-
and that's great. I'm not denying that the high school provides some programming, but as I explained in much more detail before, we have a much larger community than just the students at Eastpointe High number 1. We have a great number of residents in this city that exceed the number of students at the local high school. And we need regular programming. We've had parents that have come and stood at our podium and complained about the fact that on this side of 696, they don't see programming for our teens. And we need to get them engaged. That is our next electorate. We need to get them engaged. And so, but we don't have to re-argue the Teen Advisory Commission. It's already put through. My point to this is, since it's been expressed that there are avenues of appeal already in motion, I was just simply saying it would be nice to know what the metrics are to determine whether or not there is a need to establish another commission and pull in professionals of this nature to hear complaints. Are we going to have enough complaints coming through that will require their time and appeal? That's all.
Councilwoman, what was a metric that you're looking for then? Again?
So there was a mention of 1 or 2 people here and there. But is that number greater? Do we know that the building officials are actually getting more complaints than that, more appeals to them to overturn prior decisions to ticket properties or to go and do snow removal, and residents are saying, no, that's not the case. But without knowing that, so far all we heard tonight was about 2 here, 2 there. So that's all.
Councilwoman, in respect to that comment you just made, I've been up here for 6 years, and I can't go back to all the emails of property maintenance people have complained to me about. So I'm going on what recently happened. So, you know, we always get emails about things like debris in the backyards that complained or certain things. And so me bringing this wasn't about the 2 or 4 people.
No,
It's about, you gotta let me finish, because you're not doing that. It's about the experience that certain people have up here that they've seen personally and the things that people have came to me about. So when I'm putting stuff on here, it's not a debate of who should do this, who should do that. It's about what I hear of people complaining over the last couple years. And since this snow building came about recently, whether there was 1, 4, or 10 people, I brought it up here for a discussion. And that discussion was to talk about not just the last 4 people, but the last 6 years. And I can't have the metrics in front of you right now. All I'm doing is having a conversation. Just like you had a conversation about what wasn't up here for the youth, but we did have stuff. I signed actually things from the Eastpointe High School, from the kids being here. So we do have things in place in the city. We have a Boys and Girls Club. We have several things in the community that we have had in place for a long time. So it's not a combat of what we don't have and things like that all the time. It's about what we do have in place and trying to reestablish those things and make them stronger. So that's why I bring this back, because it was already established in 2011, and I just want to bring it back for us to oversee it and see if it's something else, not by the 4 people, but by the last couple years that I've seen people complaining. So we're all in this together. It's not about...
Yes, ma'am, we are. And with all due respect, I think you are taking my comments out of context. I was not attacking you bringing this forward. All I was simply asking is if either the city attorney or the city manager, along with the building department, could provide numbers. I was not coming for you or coming in opposition even to this board. All I was saying is that because we do have 2 appeal options in place right now, I was simply asking if we could get some more information on the numbers of residents that have been affected. And if it is, as you said, that this has been a recurring issue, it should not be hard for us to get those numbers. I was actually trying to line it up in agreement. I wasn't coming for your proposal.
How you want to move forward, council? Any other discussion on this? This is just a discussion. I'll make a motion to, what would be appropriate, attorney? Because I know Councilman Curley talked about possibly redoing or going over what other city communities may have that is more, in layman's terms, maybe a more...
A recommended motion could be to instruct the city attorney to review the current property maintenance Board of Appeals ordinance and try to take out any language that may be perhaps confusing and to maybe make the language more straightforward and a little easier to read, something like that.
Also in that, like the councilwoman said, can we also get the metrics for that? I don't know how we would be able to do that.
Just review city records through city
Records?
administration.
Okay. Councilman Crowley?
Well, I'm just going to add, when you rewrite this, my suggestion of the city manager selecting these 5 people, will that be in your new document?
I can include that. I will include.
I mean, anything you put in there, Rich, is, like I said, I'll vote for you to rewrite it, but doesn't mean I'm going to vote for it in the final form, one way or the other. But having you rewrite it, it's not going to.
Yeah, I can put a couple of different options in there.
Sounds good. I'll make the motion to rewrite the current ordinance that was created in 2011 under what our attorney just stated. I can't remember all that. Can I, that's the motion. Can I get support, anyone?
All right.
Motion and support. Please
Yeah, I'll support it, but reluctantly, but I'm probably going to vote no when the time comes. Just don't have it in the next council meeting because I'm going to be in California, so take your time.
I'll have it ready for a meeting in July.
Thank you. Motion and support, please
What-
call.
I think somebody wants to say something.
Councilman DeMonico.
Just very quick comment. I guess I would, just my opinion, I think I'm just going to vote no because I think we should either go forward and just appoint people as is or do nothing as we have been. So I don't think we need to revisit it, but obviously if it's back on our agenda, we will revisit it.
You want to keep it as is? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I'll just say, I'm just going to vote no just for our attorney to revisit it. I think if we're going to do it, we just go forward as is or don't go forward, basically. That's all.
You mean as is, as it is, meaning as the document reads now? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, the mayor would just have to start appointing people, maybe talk to the city manager about these professionals, see how we can do that and move forward.
Well, unless it's a city, you said mayor, unless it's a city manager doing it.
Well, she can suggest people to the mayor, for sure.
So can
would
I.
say. Yeah, sure, anybody could.
I'm going to, can I amend my motion? Sometimes I think as council, we spend too much on the little things and not the bigger picture. And I'm going to just move to item J. Is that
Move what?
possible? I'm going to amend my motion, just cancel it altogether.
Oh.
Is that?
Moving to rescind the
Yeah,
motion?
yeah.
Okay, I don't believe it was ever, the actual motion was actually restated, so I believe that would be appropriate, just to rescind the motion.
Okay, yeah, because I had made the motion. So,
Councilmember Curley, are you in agreement with that as well?
To
Just rescind the
to
motion?
take this off the table?
Yes.
Yes.
thank you. Next item is discussion on board commission membership totals. And now we're back, I put this on here because I know the ACDC and other commissions, like we just talked about, and again, the resident brung up, we can't fill our commission seats. So probably decreasing some of these numbers was something I wanted to do so that we can keep things moving along in the community. And I want the suggestion of the city manager and doing that, because some boards have the ACDC has over like 7 people, is it, how many?
Madam Mayor, if I may?
Yes, Ms. Holman.
ACDC requires, or is set up for a total of 9 members, so therefore 5 would be a quorum. They currently have 1 vacancy, but they have 2 who consistently do not attend and do not notify. So in the past 8 scheduled meetings, only 1 meeting was able to be held. September, October, November, January, February, all lacked quorum. They met in March, and then in April and May, they also had to cancel their meetings due to lack of quorum. As it relates to the Beautification Commission, currently 11 are required, and there are 7. 6 requires a quorum, so there have been times that the Beautification Commission has not been able to move forward. Again, they have 4 vacancies at this time. So the thought was to lower the total numbers and/or to somehow adjust the number that would be required for a quorum for these boards in particular. I believe Parks, I don't know how many they have. Mayor Pro Tem, 7?
Yes, I believe it's 7.
They seem to be back up. They had a problem in the past, but everything seems to be back in order now.
When they call the roll, so if I know exactly where we're at here. The Beautification Commission, for instance, has 4 vacancies,
Yes, sir.
okay? And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So when they call the roll and in order to get a quorum, are those 4 vacancies counted as in to attempt to try to get a quorum?
Yes.
Why? Why would that be? Why can't we, why would they've been vacant forever. It doesn't look like they're ever going to be filled. Why,
Well, we're trying.
I mean, why do you have to count a vacancy as absent? They're not absent because they don't exist.
So I believe the ordinance and the bylaws state that it's a.
Okay.
the
See,
total.
that's the whole thing. There's a lot of stuff I want to look at. I want to look at how many times each one of these had to cancel a meeting because they couldn't get a quorum. I want to look at each individual, how close they are. You know, what's the policy? If you miss 3 meetings in a row, are you out? And does that come to the council? We have, none of us, well, I'll speak for myself. I don't have a clue of all the people who aren't showing up. So, and I'm not prepared to, if someone makes a suggestion that in order to be able to get a quorum, we should fire 2 or 3 people, and I'm not going to do that. No, I wouldn't, out of my head. I wouldn't do that, just so they can get a quorum. Well, how about showing up? That'll get you the quorum. It's not our responsibility.
We have tried. The DDA has a member who's not responding. ACDC has several members that have made it to maybe 1 meeting in the past year since they were appointed. And again, non-responsive. So the issue is, it's not only just that there isn't a quorum to proceed, but all the other members show up because there is no communication, which is, disrespectful to those members who are trying to be active. So actually the DDA next week has a motion to recommend removal of a member to council. I believe if ACDC could get a quorum, they would do the same thing. And for beautification, it's just right now trying to get members. Perhaps Mr. DeMonico could give some good news about beautification on Saturday.
Sure, yeah, beautification I think's been fine. Maybe we did cancel like a meeting or something, and usually they'll just do something informal if it's like 5 out of the 11 instead of 6 out of them, and they just don't vote on anything. They'll just discuss things. But yeah, I was planning later to talk for sure about the cleanup they did over the weekend, but
We'll hold it then.
yeah.
Don't want to take your fire.
Yeah, Councilman, for the, it's the Open Meetings Act for quorum. If we have 11 members for the board, it's got to be at least the 6 that show up, for beautification, or 5 out of 9 for Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission. The commissions, as we said, if they miss 3 in a row, I believe is what it is in our ordinances, the commission can recommend removal as has been done in the past, just like a time or 2. Sounds like we might want to do that for both. Or I believe it says for cause. Actually, is that what I printed out here? Yeah, any member of any committee, board, or commission shall be removed for cause by the city council. So maybe for ACDC, we could remove any members instead of waiting for the commission to recommend it to us. We could just remove the members who haven't been showing up and then reappoint new people. We could do that.
I think I like the idea Mr. Curley was saying about getting that list of, what'd you say, Councilman, a list of people who haven't been showing up and things like that.
I would also like to see, I was hoping I could get a list tonight of how many people we have that have filled out a request form to be appointed to whatever, so we at least have an idea if there's people out there that even want to serve. But I didn't get that either, so I'm done talking about it. I don't have enough information to.
Madam Mayor, if I
Yes,
may.
ma'am.
Our executive assistant or administrative specialist actually emailed that list over at the end of last week. I can print that off for you, so you do have a copy, Councilmember Curley. And then if there are any specific questions, or we can have Kim provide the written documentation to council specific. I also do want to say, sometimes we don't know the specifics of what's happening in people's lives, so we do want to give credence to that, and maybe a written notice to council on the members that have not attended may be more fit, and then we could come back for further discussion, as Councilmember DeMonico had mentioned, to review potentially removing members that have had an issue with attendance.
And also make what Councilman Curley's recommendation, also Councilman DeMonico's recommendation, as well as Lauren, the many, I think it was like 4 vacancies. If it's taking forever for us to find to fill those vacancies, just pretty much what we have to do to change the ordinance, or what we have to change the.
Yes,
Okay.
one of the ideas would be to make ex officio positions, if that's what council would wish to do. So like for beautification right now, you have 4 vacant positions. You would have to make a motion to make an amendment and direct the city attorney to make that amendment to the ordinance. And then it would come back for the first and second reading prior to the formal adoption and posting in the paper for that change. But that is an option which wouldn't require anyone to be kicked off. As previously mentioned, they'd still be able to serve. They just wouldn't be voting members or counted towards the total membership for quorum, as was initially mentioned.
Okay, that information that we're seeking, can you just provide that to us sometime this week?
Absolutely, I can put that in my Friday report for you all.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Councilman DeMonico.
Mayor, I think as for some of the open spots, I think like in the last couple of years, at least from my own notes here, like for Beautification Commission, Evelyn Cherison and Linda Flans have applied for the Beautification Commission, and then there's 2 additional people that are somewhat newer here, Sonia Timon and Dorothy Stover. And I think we've got a few also for Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission. There's only 1 opening there. I mean, unless we remove anybody. But yeah, Sonia Timon also applied for that. Looks like in Yolanda Buckles Nadaye. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And maybe a couple others here in this, last year or 2. So I think we could appoint a few more people. Beautification certainly wouldn't mind having 4 more people. So.
Thank you. Moving right along to item K, the reappointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Mayor, I move that we reappoint Tonya Gladney to the Zoning Board of Appeals with the term to expire May 15th, 2026.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Next item, payroll and bills. Council.
Mayor, I move that we pay the bills in the amount of $2,736,643.96.
Support.
Motion and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes. Next item is the second hearing of the public. The second hearing of the public is now open. Now, what this young lady did not mention when she came up, she is our state senator, so I'm gonna put her out there like that. You voted for her, so thank you again for coming up, Senator.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple real quick things regarding the meeting. Quorum is a majority of those appointed and serving. So if you don't have 9 appointed, you only have 7 appointed, then a quorum is a majority of that 7. I just pulled it up. I just read it. I just read it 20 seconds ago. You're maybe thinking about the term, a majority of those present and serving. That is not a quorum, but a majority of those appointed and serving. I may have said appointed and present, appointed and serving. So if you don't have the full board appointed, but you have 7 appointed, I believe, I have Rich take a look at it, but I just read it, and that's what the Open Meetings Act actually says. I do want to point out, we used to have a robust attendance with regard to a lot of the committees, and over the years, there's been a removal of longtime volunteers in this city against their will from commissions in the name of change and getting new faces in. The end result of that, though, is we lost those that we could rely on, and some of the new people that came on, we cannot rely on, and we're probably not going to get those back that were removed after having served for years, so that's unfortunate. One thing real quick, Councilman Curley, I don't know about creating a board and having the city management appoint a board whose job it is to decide whether management has made a mistake. That puts them and the city manager in an awkward position, so I would give that some thought. And then finally, with respect to Pride Month, Eastpointe is the first community to do a Pride resolution, and several, in Macomb County, and several communities have followed suit, and now communities around us are having flag-raising celebrations and celebrations in their parks. I'm very proud that we were the first community. Again, I respectfully ask you to reconsider. Those that were on the losing end, which would be Councilman Curley and Councilman DeMonico, cannot bring it back up, so it is not up to them. If any of the others decide to bring it up, I would be gratefully appreciative of that, and I apologize, I'm going to leave. I have to be on the road at 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, but I am having somebody record this so that I can see your responses. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
Mary Hall Rayford again. Couple of points with regarding commissions. I had served on ZBA for a time and requested reappointment and was ignored. Not that it's a big deal, but when I hear people complaining about we don't have people who want to do, we do have people who want to do. And unfortunately, when the selection process is somewhat biased, this is what we end up with vacant seats. The other thing I wanted to mention is this. We cannot afford to disavow the existence of groups of people in this city. It's not only right to acknowledge that, but how can we be a true family town if we're going to ignore an entire group of people? I will be here for that protest because it sickens me that decisions are made based on anything other than humanitarian reasons. We don't have to like people. We don't have to like what they do. But we cannot use our personal beliefs or opinions to influence policy decisions for everyone. That is truly an injustice. And I will not stand for an injustice against any group of people. And I'm going to make sure that that voice is heard. We have to do better if people want to see Eastpointe as a welcoming family town. We don't toss people out of families. They may walk away, but we don't toss them out. And we need to be more aware of that. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonya Gladney, Eastpointe resident. First thing I want to say is I want to pray for Harvey, his family, his wife, and his children, and I pray that God covers them as he heals through this whole process. He's going to need a lot of prayer. He's very active in City Council and what he do, as well as sitting on ZBA, and so I think he's going to need that encouragement. The next thing I want to talk about is I see that my avenue is getting a pavement. Michael Avenue also need one, curve. I would wish you guys would consider that, even though it's a cul-de-sac. In front of my house, the curve has crumbled. The street is cracked. I can't tell you how many cracks that's in that cul-de-sac. So if someone can take a look at that, that would be greatly appreciated. Some residents here and there, curve is also cracked. That means it's barely up. So please look at that. I should have went to the water board on this, but I'm just going to bring this up. So I'm not the only house on the block that's having a very foul smell, like a sewer smell. I see that the state of Michigan came out. I've seen a few state of Michigan cars out on my block within the last 2 weeks. I don't know what's actually going on. Some of them was still testing water, but I think it's something else going on. So that needs to be looked into because the smell is awful. The second thing is thank you guys for reappointing me back to the ZBA. I appreciate it, and God bless you all, and I must leave as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to address a couple of the comments made about teens and their involvement in the community. As a teen in the community, yes, my mother is part of a part of City Council, but I've been interested in politics and civics for a while, and I wanted to address a few things. In the city of Eastpointe, for teens outside of Eastpointe High, there aren't a lot of programs we can be involved in. Yes, in the Tri-County, there are several programs available to teens, such as the DIA Teen Council, MOCAD, so on and so forth. But for me personally and for my friends and family who live in Eastpointe, there aren't options for us. And the Teen Commission allowed for there to be options for teens to get involved in civics and community and city government. Personally, I've had to go outside of the city to Detroit or even all the way to Spring Arbor to be a part of teen councils or to learn about government and civics. Comments made by Mayor Owens and Councilman DeMonico about there being other things for teens to do just truly don't reflect what there is to do in the community. Now, are there things to do in the community? Yes, there are. But it is important that, A, there is literature for teens to know and understand what their options are. If you don't know, you can't do anything about it. Secondly, many meetings ago, Councilman DeMonico pointed out that there were things to do, but most of the things on the list he gave were not in the city of Eastpointe. Many teens face challenges going to events and things outside of their city because of transportation, accessibility, and to be quite honest, whether or not their parents allow them to go. I hope you and the rest of the community will take this into consideration, remembering that teens don't always have options within the city and will work to not only support the Teen Commission, but also support and make other avenues for teens to have options in this city. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak? Oh, I'm sorry. Our city manager has a couple comments from her emails. Thank you.
Thank you,
City
Mayor.
Manager.
So the first one is from Kay Gorel. Other than that, I don't have a full name. I wish to express my opinion on forming this commission to appeal citations and fines. I am against this. If you are living in a house, you are totally responsible for the upkeep of the property. If you don't want the responsibility for upkeep, don't buy or rent. I've lived in Eastpointe 67 years, and just on my street, see many people disregard the ordinances. Keep them intact and hold the owners, renters, and landlords responsible. The second email is from Kathleen Strong. States, Dear City of Eastpointe, I'm not writing to speak for myself, but I'm writing to speak for many other people that feel strongly about this topic as well. As a member of the LGBTQ+ community and a resident of Eastpointe, the way that a Pride celebration keeps getting denied is making me feel unsafe and unwelcome in my community. It's more than just to celebrate the LGBTQ+ community, but to recognize the history, trials, and tribulations, and show that we can all come together and recognize that we are just as equal as the next. I think it's important that our youth feel accepted, safe, and welcome in our community. Statistics prove that LGBTQ+ youth are at higher risk of homelessness, being suicidal, or being a high school dropout, and I'm sure living in a community where they don't feel accepted does not help. A Pride celebration is not only to recognize the LGBTQ+ community, but also the allies and people who help fight the stigma that have been brought to the LGBTQ+ community. I hope listening to all the people, letters, and stories help make you reconsider and open your eyes to a better future for the city of Eastpointe. The third one is from Miriam Atawi. Last name is Itawi. It states, good afternoon. I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting, but I wanted to have this read before the council. I've lived in the city of Eastpointe since 2020 and have loved what a welcoming and diverse community it is. However, with recent events, I'm seeing that it may not be as welcome as I thought. I'm not a part of the LGBTQ+ community, but I have many close friends and family members that are. They won the right to marriage in 2015, but since are losing other rights, and that is not okay. A simple, small Pride festival should be allowed in the city, especially considering it will bring revenue to the city. Even if we don't care about the LGBTQ+ community, we should care about bringing the city revenue. There are many things that I see my tax dollars being wasted on, but I don't say anything. However, I want my tax dollars to go towards this, so why can't it? Why are voices of a minority being taken away? Why are we forcing them back in the closet? This is not okay, and I thought better of Eastpointe. Please know I am highly considering moving after this, as the community is not welcoming as I once believed. Please reconsider your decision. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? The hearing of the public is now closed. And we're going to mayor and council reports, and after that, we're going to closed session, starting with Councilwoman Cobb Munez. Councilwoman.
First of all, I want to just say thank you to the citizens of the city of Eastpointe who are rallying around Harvey Creech and for so passionately speaking about that during the hearing of the public tonight, as well as those who circulated the card. And my personal prayers and heart go out to him and his family, and we're praying for his healing and a speedy recovery. Also, I want to make acknowledgement with respect to the Meals on Wheels that was spoke about during the hearing of the public. Meals on Wheels is an incredible program. I had the honor and the privilege of being able to serve as a part of as a Meals on Wheels volunteer as a teenager and into my adult years, and my family was very engaged with Meals on Wheels, and so it's something that I believe is essential to the community, and I'm definitely going to check and see if there's a way for me to participate with that, even now here at our local Roseville facility. But I want to encourage all citizens, if you have that time, while they do it every single day, they're only asking for someone to offer an hour a week. So if you have the time, you have the transportation, please do consider volunteering with Meals on Wheels, because it is a worthy program for citizens who otherwise may not get to eat a meal. Also, I want to bring note that over the weekend, we had a notable actor come to our great city of Eastpointe, Hill Harper. You may know him from various TV shows and movies. He's also the author of the book, Letters to an Incarcerated Brother. And he was brought to our city by the Metro Equity Action Fund, and spoke about not just his political pursuits, but more so the conversation was around bringing citizens back into the community after they have suffered incarceration, and particularly those who are reunited with the community who have been exonerated after being falsely accused and convicted. And so it was a very powerful conversation, community conversation, and it was just good to know that amongst his stops, that Eastpointe was on that rally. Finally, or not completely finally, I have two more things. The Teen Advisory Commission applications are available at City Hall, and they're also on the city website, so you don't just have to come to City Hall to get it. Citizens can get them on the city website. There is a parental authorization attached to that, and we're also looking into offering some other types of advertisement possibly. And we're also going to reach out to the high school and try to see if we can get some applications made available there before the students leave for the summer, so that we can capture the 8th through 11th grade students that may be interested in being on that commission. Lastly, I just want to say, Martin Luther King was noted as saying that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy.
Councilman DeMonico.
Thanks, Mayor. First, congrats to the class of 2023, all of you out there. And second, back to, Beautification Commission, as Ms. Homan was saying earlier, the entire commission, the 7 of them that are on there right now, over the weekend helped out 2 residents through the Macomb County Senior Citizens Initiative. I forget the exact name. But the 7 of them came out, and and I want to name them: Lakita Cobb, Craig Wadecki, Paul Colby, Kevin Murphy, Sine Mural, Pam Russell, and Rachel Sullivan. And I was out there helping them too. Both were so appreciative. They cleaned up some weeds. They trimmed some bushes. They actually washed windows. And actually, I think I'm going to take that little trick. They attached a little Windex bottle to a hose. I haven't thought to do that before, and windows look pretty nice afterwards. And what else did we do? A couple other things. We were lucky on one of the houses. GFL was coming down the block, and we were able to just toss all the the weeds in without cutting them down. So saved us a little bit of work. They were very nice, stopped by and talked to us for a minute. A couple of the commissioners gave some water bottles to them and stuff. And actually, I guess since the county posted this, one of the residents found me on Facebook, sent out a note that he wanted me to deliver to all the members of the commission. He said, "Dear Mr. DeMonico, I tried to find somewhere to send a group message, but you'll have to be the town crier, so to say. And this gentleman said, you and a group of volunteers just left my house in Johnston, where you worked on my flower beds, trimmed my trees and bushes, washed my windows and awnings, and yes, even worked on my solar lights. I'm still speechless. I've always been one of those people that gives and feels uncomfortable receiving. However, life has a way of making us see things in a different light. It took me a long time to be able to reach out and ask for help, doing what I used to be able to do so easily. I became depressed about myself and my future, especially the way the world's been going lately, so much hate and anger. What your group did for me today was not only make my house pretty again, where I can be a proud homeowner again, but you all gave me hope. It's a terrible way to live without hope. It's like swimming in 6 feet of water tied to a cement block. What all you did physically to my house was wonderful, but seeing all your happy faces, laughing and joking and doing something like hard work for a complete stranger magnified what you did to my house and multiplied it tenfold. For that, I will forever be humbled and grateful, and thank you for giving me back hope." So I thought that was a very, very nice message he sent to the commission. Also, the Memorial Day Parade was great, and I want to point out one thing. Well, actually, first, thank you, Mayor Owens, Councilman Curley, for coming out, throwing out some candy and stuff during the parade. But second, I got to mention Mickey Buchak, our MVP volunteer of the year, multiple things. We went from about 14 groups last year to at least, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's at least 57. 14 to 57 groups, and it is her to thank, 100%. So if you know her, or I just knew her from Facebook till she just showed up to a meeting, and if you're interested, come out to meetings later, we'll post them again. She just came out. I'm pretty sure she called every single business in the entire community. She made hundreds of phone calls. So thank her if you know her. The parade was very successful, especially due to her, and of course to the rest of the people that have helped with the committee and stuff. But I wanted to especially say thank you to her. She's wonderful. We're lucky to have her. Let's see. Also went to MML training in Bay City recently. The topic was leadership. We had some sessions on civility and collaborative leadership, developing diversity in the workplace, strategic coalition building, investments in the community, and council manager relationships. All these sessions help to look at things from the view of another. We see other people from municipalities there, and it's good to kind of hear what's going on in their city. And I think it's very helpful. You hear some nice tidbits going on. I thought one interesting concept from one of the sessions was about an emotional bank account. The point's not to look at relationships as transactional, but at least like healthy relationships, both sides are doing things for each other, helping each other out. And if a relationship gets too lopsided, it's kind of when things break down. So just kind of an interesting thing. Haven't really thought about it like that. And I think we can think of the city council the same way. And happy Pride Month. It may not be declared in Eastpointe, but obviously it's declared just about everywhere else. Please celebrate love and authenticity all month and all year, everybody. And just a couple other things here. Neighborhood watch meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. If you got any questions for the PD, come out and ask. And then just as everyone else has said, let's look out for Harvey Creech in this time. Think about his family and his wife Pam, and if you can reach out to them, at least keep them in your thoughts. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Crowley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have just one item. It's concerning our 24th annual Cruise and Gratiot, which will be Saturday, the 17th of this month, only 10 days away. We're very excited about it. Everything is going really well, except I have one really big problem. We don't have enough convertibles to put the VIP people in when we have the VIP parade. So I'm asking folks that if you have a convertible, doesn't have to be a classic car, give me a call, and I'll give you all the details. I can tell you that there will be a reward for you if you participate in the parade. I'm going to give you my telephone number, and wouldn't it be swell, hint, hint, if I made the newspaper with this too? The telephone number is 586-480-0355. 480-0355. We'll line you up 1 o'clock on Saturday, and we take one trip around Gratiot between 8 Mile and 10 Mile, and it's a lot of fun. But I only have 4 convertibles right now, but I need like 17. So it's more of a problem this year than it ever has been, but we're going to survive. We'll get it. We'll have some way or another to do it, but there'll be all the folks from this council and the city manager and the school board and the superintendent and our state senator, our state rep, and a lot of other people. They'll be in there. So 480-0355. That's my one item, Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. All right. Well, first, in regards to the comment that was made about parliamentary procedure, that was a reminder for council. That was not directed at any of the residents. It never is. We have a set of guidelines that we follow to keep order, civility, and there's those rules. There was a training done here. The person that did the training, these are her notes as to what we're supposed to follow. So my comment about not speaking adversely against prior decisions of the body came from the professional that taught the class that gives us guidance on how we go. Residents are allowed to express their concerns to us. If you disagree with us, that's okay. We understand that. There will be disagreements. You can talk to 2 or 3 people in the same room. There will be 2 or 3 different opinions sometimes. But we never, at least myself, I never shun away or push away someone who disagrees with me. I'm okay with it. In regards to the Center for Autism and the Military Museum, those are 2 different properties that fall under 2 different criteria. One was a tax reverted property. One is a city-owned property. So, I mean, I'm still okay if there's a disagreement on what the terms were, so be it. But the fact of the matter is they didn't even fall into the same criteria. The value for one building is totally different from the value of the other building. And then there is still some things going on regarding tax reverted properties to where municipalities are not selling these properties for profit because there's still some things that are being worked out through the higher courts. In regards to the Pride Month, I find it interesting that the assumption is that there was either religious beliefs or personal feelings. I can't speak for anybody else, but I myself did not give a religious belief. I did not give a personal bias or lean or opinion about any of it. In fact, there are people here that know me and people that I've talked to that I've shared the reasons for my abstention, some of which sitting up here on the city council, some of which are residents of the city who voiced their opinions. But there is also people who have said that they would rather have a no vote than an abstention. There are people, my reasons for abstaining over the years, and I've told this to people and I will state it here publicly. There were people that I've had conversations with within the LGBTQ community who was in opposition of the Pride Month resolution. There are some that are in favor of it. I've never taken a stance against anybody. And one thing I find it interesting is that I've always stated to treat everybody with love, kindness, and respect. And I've supported the personal and political endeavors of some members that identify as part of the LGBT community. But one thing that I never do is ask what your identity is. I never ask what your sexual orientation is. It's not my business. Those are matters of intimacy between the parties involved. It's no longer intimate when you include me in it. The only thing that I've ever asked was to be able to mind my business and to stay out of the personal business of others. But I have not shown disrespect, hatred, ill intentions, or ill feelings towards anybody. And there are people that can come up and tell you that. It's not my job to point out who it is. But the fact of the matter is that I've treated all people with respect, kindness, and love. That's apparent in the community. I'm visible in the community. And that's factual. It's not just me sitting up here trying to paint a certain picture. That's factual. And there are people in this community that know that. But whether that's acknowledged or recognized or discussed, it is here right now by me, but if other people don't want to say anything about it, that's fine too. But the one question that I did ask is if there are LGBTQ members who don't want the Pride Month recognition or resolution, and there are some who do, one question that I've always asked is, which way do I lean on that? Who do I favor on that one? I never got a good answer for that one, because it tends to be that people who are in favor of it want you to vote yes, people who are not in favor of it want you to vote no. So my thing was to try to not offend anyone, and I abstained, but there were members who said they don't like the abstention, and they said they would rather have a no vote than an abstention. So, but, you know, people in the community that identify, whether it be differently than me or the same as me, the one thing I never ask is about your personal life. And I've done a pretty good job of minding my own business in that regard. Lastly, to Harvey Creech and his family, I'm sorrowful to hear the news about his accident, and I just hope and pray that he and his family have the support and the care that they need to get through this difficult time.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to say, God bless, stay prayerful. We're going to go into a closed session. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. To go into, I got to state it. Motion to go into closed session for attorney-client privilege, communication pursuant to MCL 15.268, and H in parentheses, and then also for collective bargaining pursuant to MCL 15.268 and C in parentheses.
Support.
Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Communis?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Owens?
Yes. You are all open to stay until after, but if not, God bless, and thank you for coming out. We are back in session from our closed session. Can I get a motion for our closed session, item A and let's do each item, how about that? For item A,
Madam Mayor, there's no necessity for the council to pass a motion on the first closed session item.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Going next to item B, collective bargaining.
I would move that we, I don't know how to state it, but that we will move forward with the collective bargaining items as presented by our city manager.
Support. Motion and support, please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley, Councilmember DeMonico? Mayor Owens?
Yes, meeting adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Oh, support. I'm so tired, I'm tired.
Support.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Cobb Muniz?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico? Mayor Owens? Councilmember Curley?
Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you. I'm sick, tired.
You acting like our other boards and commissions. They be like,